Welcome to this BVTV Trilogy coming to you from the UK studios of BizVision. I'm your host, Malcolm Gallagher. Now, this is number 3 in the Customer Onboarding Trilogy with author and expert Donna Weber. I hate it that it's the final video, as this subject is so fascinating and important. But sadly, I must say for the final time, hello, Donna.
Hello, Malcolm. I'm sad as well. It's a real pleasure talking with you.
Yeah, but I know you've got to dash off as well because you've got a flight to catch for up to Oregon from California, San Francisco. Is that a long flight?
No, it's an hour and a half. It's not
It's
far.
easy. Not even time to have a gin and tonic. Donna, customer onboarding has become much more structured than my 50 years ago effort. Let's future-proof our viewers onboarding by telling us what is developing today, in particular neuroscience. How does it work in everything we're talking about? And where else do you think customer loyalty is going?
Well, so what happens, as I've shared in our earlier sessions, the companies I work with are generally business to business. So they might be selling, hardware and software to businesses to help them run their businesses better. But too often those companies think of their customers as companies, as accounts, as logos. And the reality is that they're made up of people. And when people get new experiences, our brain science or cognitive experiences get involved. And I am no brain scientist, neuroscientist at all, but I've read up a little bit about it and it's fascinating. And so what I learned is that not all customer experiences have equal importance. That the first impression, the beginning, the onboarding has the most important weight. And that's due to things like first impressions, buyer's remorse, prospection, rumination. So what all that means is that even though we might sell to someone who might be like the buyer or a CTO, a CIO, a CEO, they sound important, but the reality is that our brains start churning in fear and doubt. The reality is that people spend billions of dollars a year on anything from buying a house to as small as an ice cream cone, and they get buyer's remorse. Oh shoot, should have got a different flavor, right? So then we start to challenge our decisions, like, oh shoot, did I make the right decision? We start to ruminate, which means we start churning on the story. We dwell in fear and doubt. And so we don't want our customers going there, right? We don't want our customers dwelling in fear and doubt at the beginning of the relationship when they should be most excited. So that's why we need to jump in there and start building that trusting and enduring relationship from day one or even before the deal closes, we talked about in our last session. And to do that, I developed, go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead, Malcolm.
Yeah, I apologize for interrupting. You were in good flow there.
So I developed the 6-stage orchestrated onboarding framework to really get all those customer-facing teams, which are traditionally in silos, working together in an orchestrated and harmonious way for the customer, so that the customer doesn't have to figure out who do I go to when, what do I do? In the previous session, we were talking about working out with a personal trainer. Do I use this machine? Do I, do free weights? Do I do the treadmill now? No, like there's a prescription to guide me to the results that I want. So the 6 stages are embark, handoff, kickoff, adopt, review, and expand. And we're not going to go into all of those. I covered them all in the book. But the focus is to really engage the customer, build that trusting relationship, and then guide them to some initial value with your product, and then get them to lifetime value. That's the focus.
Yeah, I love that that approach, by the way. And as I said to you before we started recording, I love the way that you produce this book. It's very conversational with just the right amount of theory and academic in there. It's lovely, well written and easy to follow. But what puzzles me about it all, 50 years ago, I know it's a long time, isn't it? 50 years ago, when I was one of the first salesmen that Mattel Toys when they came into the UK. I was one of the first there, and they taught us great about selling, but they taught us about cognitive dissonance, which is the same, buyer's doubt, isn't it? And they said it's quite simple. You just tell them that they made a good decision. constantly as they're going through the order there. And, I think that's been lost as we've moved forward to tell people they've made the right decision, because making a decision is risky. Now, how can today's systems and people like that, reassure people? Because really, it's a personal thing, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So one, I think you make an excellent point. So one, remember, we're dealing with people, even though we might have sold to a huge international, multi-billion-dollar company. There's still people we're dealing with. Their jobs might be on the line. Their reputation might be on the line because they bought your product. So we need to really engage at a personal level and help them trust that they made the right decision. And then we need to, I think people are moving so fast these days. So many companies I work with, they're all about, we got to go live with the product. We got to implement the product. But the reality is our, products, technology are becoming more and more commodities these days. And the relationship is what sets you apart. So it's not when you rush to this, kickoff. So usually companies I work with, they close the deal and they do the kickoff so that they could get the product implemented. And well, one, you're just diving into technical weeds, and guess what? Weeds means problems, right? So
Yes.
you dive into the technical weeds, and the first thing your customers deal with are problems. So nobody wants that. And they say, well, people just want to get to the kickoff, but it slows everything downstream. So in order to speed things up, we slow down. We have these handoff meetings. We have handoff meeting internally to really get the internal teams all in tune with each other so that they're ready to engage the customer. We have a handoff meeting with the customer so they understand the big picture goals, outcomes. They understand the framework for working together. And then you're ready to move into the details. Our brains are then ready. Otherwise, we get just overwhelmed with all those details and we disengage, and we might panic. We might, we
Yeah,
might,
I'm with you.
we might just be so stressed we can't even deal with it. But if we can start with, I even like to say, just use some visuals to help customers see this journey ahead. I can't tell you how much when I work with companies, it calms people down. They get it. They get so overwhelmed with all the details, you can't even have a conversation with them. So we slow
Yeah.
down, build a foundation, and then we're ready to move swiftly and really ensure customers are getting value and we're not just throwing a product at them.
Yeah. I learned many years ago that nobody buys unhappy. Customers buy happy. So how are you going to make them happy? Thanks, Donna. Now, let me remind our audience of your URL, your website address, which is obviously, viewers, you can see on the screen behind me. For listeners, let me spell that out. It's all the W's, Donna, Donna, Weber, Weber, donnaweber.com. Donna's book, this one, Onboarding Matters, How Successful Companies Transform New Customers into Loyal Customers, is published by Springboard Press. I probably said a number of times throughout this trilogy how personally committed I am to customer service. I totally believe in customer lifetime value, and that this book will help you bring all of everything up to date now and really make it work and keep those customers. The lifetime value of a customer plays an important part in the actual value and future existence of a business, in my mind. No matter if you're a startup or an established business, it's my absolute belief that customer onboarding needs to be at the forefront of your strategy for success. So thanks, Donna Weber, for a very inspiring trilogy.
Thank you, Malcolm. I look forward to continuing the conversation.